Chicago was built to last forever, not as optimism, as policy, as contracts, as assumptions. Assumptions written into spreadsheets, into labor agreements, into pensions, and assumptions don't age well. It had the jobs, the unions, the infrastructure, the location, a city at the center of the country, where railroads met, factories clustered, and millions of middle-class lives were built. Chicago was never supposed to decline. Detroit made sense. A one-industry city. Chicago didn't. And yet, here we are. This video isn't about crime. It isn't about politics. It's about what people miss. It's about what broke quietly, long before the headlines ever showed up. The machine. Once upon a time, Chicago was the future, not a metaphor, not a slogan. The future. Steel thundered. Railroads converged. Meat was processed at an industrial scale never seen before. If America built it, Chicago moved it, cut it, sold it, and shipped it. By the early 20th century, Chicago wasn't just a city. It was a machine, a perfectly positioned engine at the center of the country. Immigrants poured in. Jobs were endless. Neighborhoods rose block by block. And the deal was simple. Work hard, clock in, clock out, and the city would take care of you. For decades, it worked. Permanence. Chicago's power came from concentration. Factories, stockyards, steel mills, millions of middle-class jobs that didn't require a college degree, just endurance. You could arrive with nothing and leave with stability. A house, a pension, a future your parents never had. By the 1950s, Chicago was near its peak. Manufacturing ruled. Unions were strong. Wages were predictable. The city felt permanent. But permanence is dangerous, because permanence breeds complacency. And while Chicago celebrated what it had built, the ground beneath it was shifting, with the jobs left quietly. The decline didn't start with crime. It didn't start with politics. It started quietly, in offices, in budgets, in spreadsheets. In the 1960s and 70s, American manufacturing faced a cold reality. Automation reduced labor needs. Globalization made overseas production cheaper. Suburbs drained workers and capital outward. Factories didn't explode. They didn't announce their exit. They just didn't reopen. Steel plants shut down. The Union stockyards closed. And with them, an entire economic ecosystem vanished. Entire neighborhoods lost their economic purpose. And here's the critical part. The city didn't replace those jobs with anything comparable. Service work grew, but service wages couldn't replace industrial wages. The economic ladder lost its middle rungs. For some, Chicago adapted. For many, it simply hollowed out. Segregation by design. Chicago didn't just lose jobs. It divided opportunity. Few American cities mastered segregation as efficiently. Redlining, housing covenants, highway placement, all designed to separate. Neighborhoods weren't just different. They were economically isolated. When factories closed, white middle-class families had an escape route. The suburbs, black communities didn't. Capital fled. Tax bases shrank. Schools deteriorated. The city became a patchwork of prosperity and abandonment. This wasn't accidental. It was structural. And structures don't collapse loudly. They decay. The broken math. While the economy weakened, Chicago made promises. Big ones. Generous pensions for city workers. Retirement guarantees negotiated when revenue felt endless. The math assumed growth, but growth never came back. Instead of adjusting early, leaders delayed. Year after year, administration after administration. Underfunding became routine. Borrowing replaced reform. It was political anesthesia. No pay now, just catastrophic pain later. By the 2000s, Chicago's pension system had become one of the worst funded in America. Money that could have gone to schools, infrastructure, or public safety was already spoken for decades into the future. The city wasn't just broke. It was pre-spent. The debt spiral. To stay functional, Chicago borrowed. To plug holes. To cover pensions. To maintain appearances. Municipal debt ballooned. Credit ratings fell. Borrowing got more expensive. A vicious loop formed. Less trust. Higher interest. Less flexibility. More borrowing. When Moody's downgraded Chicago's bonds to near-junk status, the warning was unmistakable. But the city kept operating as if tomorrow would fix today. It wouldn't. And the cost wasn't just financial. As debt consumed the budget, the city lost something more important than money. It lost flexibility, the ability to invest early, to prevent instead of react. Crime enters the frame. Then came the headlines. Shootings, carjackings, population loss. Crime didn't appear out of nowhere. It filled a vacuum. When jobs disappear, institutions weaken. When institutions weaken, informal systems take over. Policing became reactive. Trust collapsed. Clearance rates dropped. Violence concentrated, not everywhere, but predictably in the same neglected neighborhoods. By the time crime entered the frame, the institutions that could have contained it were already hollowed out, and perception did the rest. Once a city is labeled unsafe, capital becomes skittish. Businesses hesitate. Residents with options leave. Chicago's population peaked in 1950. It has never recovered. A city of two realities. Today, Chicago is a contradiction. Downtown gleams. Tech offices rise. Tourists photograph the skyline. But vast sections of the South and West Sides remain trapped in economic stasis. Empty lots, closed schools, generational unemployment. It's not collapse. It's uneven decay. Chicago didn't fail all at once. It failed selectively, and that makes it harder to fix, because the pain isn't shared equally. Why Chicago matters. Chicago isn't unique. It's instructive. It shows what happens when industrial economies aren't replaced. Segregation calcifies inequality. Political incentives reward delay. Debt substitutes for reform. No single decision doomed the city. Thousands of small ones did. And that's the most uncomfortable truth. Decline doesn't require villains, just avoidance. The lesson. Chicago isn't dead, but it's no longer aligned with reality. Cities don't collapse when they're attacked. They collapse when they stop adapting. If you want to keep exploring the stories of cities, economies, and power, watch what comes next and like and subscribe.